already knew.
As depressing an experience as I've ever had going to movies.
Now, I know some people found this movie fun, but me, I'd rather spend 2 hours having root canal work done.
It's a terrible film from beginning to end.
You know the theory of reincarnation, where the dues we pay in this lifetime, we may get to collect in another lifetime. For having seen this movie, I want months and months and months in a beautiful valley.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, we give it a 3.
Well, maybe it wasn't that good. Let's give it a 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bombs Away, a bad movie comedy podcast. My name is Tyler Rowe. Joining me here inside the cyber studio, as always, is
Peyton Bieber.
And a skeleton made of glass, not crystal. Jarrett Seifert.
Nice. Samuel L. Jackson.
My bones break every day.
I was going to say, you are built like a person with a glass skeleton, so I could see it. Yes.
I've actually never broken a bone, though. So
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I've only broken one.
I may have broken a toe bone, but those don't count.
I broke a toe, so I guess that doesn't count, but I shattered my face. So I guess
when you
I
saw
win.
Jarrett.
That explains a lot.
Damn. Peyton's coming for him.
Dang.
Well, you may be wondering, why is Jarrett talking about glass skeletons, crystal skeletons, blah, blah, blah skeletons? Well, that's because we are talking about a movie that has been requested 1.5 million times. We've started recording this episode 3 times. We've set up dates to record this episode 5 times, and now it's finally happening. This is 2008's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Harrison Ford, Shia LaBeouf, Karen Allen, and Cate Blanchett, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 78% and an IMDb score of 6.1. This quite possibly might be the highest rated movie that we cover on like a regular episode of this show.
That's a good, bad movie.
Yeah, and it's not, oh God, you guys are gonna, I'm like a Indiana Jones Crystal Skull apologist. So there's gonna be a whole bunch of me explaining why I love this movie so much. But yeah, let's get into it with a little bit of background. Again, the defense starts right off the bat for why I don't think this movie deserves the hate it gets. 2006, 2007, 2008 was kind of the height of that Ancient Aliens phenomenon where everyone all of a sudden got really interested in it. And the Ancient Aliens show took off. And there was that stupid meme with the guy with the fucking crazy hair. Aliens. Yeah.
That guy actually is very damaging to actual actual history of different cultures, because it's saying that they're not smart enough to do this on their own, and so aliens must have gotten involved. So historians are like, that guy's actually kind of a dick because he just degrades all of previous history as to we shouldn't have been smart enough when we very much could have been.
Well, I think I saw a tweet a long time ago that was like, just because white people couldn't do it didn't mean it's aliens. I used to work with this guy at one of my old jobs who was like very, very angry about ancient alien discourse, like actually very angry. And that guy actually spoke at the theme park that we worked at, because we hosted an after party for this alien convention nearby. And that guy was there. One of my friends met him, but this guy was so angry about ancient alien theory, where I would always be like, I would just ask him questions, like egg him on, so he'd get mad about it. But their whole thing is like, oh no, like, South American temples, like the way that the rocks are cut at these 90 degrees, like you couldn't do it with ancient tools. And he always used to be like, there's nothing else to do in ancient times except cut a rock. So I think they're going to get really good at cutting rocks. He would get like really mad about it. Like, I just love bringing it up and being like, well, maybe they do have a good point. And then he'd flip out. He was actually mad that the ending of WALL-E during the credits even suggested ancient alien theories, and he was like very mad about that too.
It's like video games of the before times. It's like, hey, I got the high score. Look, perfect 90, bro.
Yeah, look at this rock I carved. It only took me 85 years. I can die now.
Dang.
Yeah.
Did you speed run that rock?
Oh my God. Any percent glitches enabled. But yeah, that a brief background on why this movie. I'm assuming everyone knows what this movie happens in this movie. It's pretty infamous, but a brief explanation about why they decided to go this direction. And also, you need to remember this one takes place in the 50s. This is going to teeter more into sci-fi because Indiana Jones has always been rooted in the pulp fiction that occurred in the era that it's there. Pulp fiction for the 30s and 40s was always fighting Nazis. And then in the 50s, it shifted to sci-fi. So obviously, Indiana Jones is going to take that route. Okay? Everyone good?
That makes sense.
Thank you.
I will say that after this viewing, I have got off the hate train for this movie. It actually isn't too bad. There are some places where you're almost like, this is terrible. But majority of it is like, okay, it does make sense. So, I mean, it slaps you in the face, the first 10 minutes, like aliens are in this movie. Aliens.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll come back. We'll visit Temple of Doom. We'll talk about an actual bad Indiana Jones movie because that movie fucking sucks. But
I think a lot of people just get hung up on the whole like, oh, now there's aliens involved, where it's like, really, things melted Nazis' faces before. Yeah. Like a guy ripped someone else's heart out before because of a stone that was like keeping a village alive. Like, these clearly aren't movies set in reality.
A Templar of King Arthur's court waits 800 years for anyone to touch the Holy Grail, and as soon as you touch it, he comes to life, and you have to fight him. And you're telling me you draw the line at aliens? Is where that's like, oh, that's where my suspension of disbelief is gone. I can't believe this anymore.
Yeah, the first one's about the power of God.
Well, and then you bring up an interesting point. Again, we will get to the movie, but I just want to, defend this and talk about why I think a lot of people had problems with this. Is that all the three other movies, the artifact that they are looking for is a religious artifact. However, it is a Christian religious artifact that they are looking for in the other three movies. In this movie, it is still a religious artifact. They literally lay out that people worshipped these aliens as gods. And so it's like, okay, that we're not even that far off, but it's not a Christian thing. And then I think that's another reason why people
it's not a mainstream religion.
Yes, exactly. So, like we said, the movie starts, I believe it said 1957. I'm not going to go back and check, but in Nevada. And it's kind of one of those, like, they briefly show you
51.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, guys, okay. Like, we get it. We knew what that was.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Get
wink,
it?
Wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, and then something happens later in this scene to like further cement home. It's like, look, guys, we already knew this was the warehouse from the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. We already knew that. Oh, did you not know that?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, they made it.
It was pretty commonly well known. Like, everyone saw
it. When I saw the movie, I was like, oh, that's very clearly what it is. And then at the end of the scene,
scene to pay attention to each movie once.
Okay, I see. Well, they drive it home further later in the scene because a box falls and opens, and it has the Ark of the Covenant in it. So they're just kind of driving home like, this is where all the artifacts go.
I thought that was just like some really crappy home decor.
I got this at Home Goods.
That's not the Ark of the Covenant. That's a boat, right?
This is on Wayfair for $50.
Oh, it came with a kid. Yeah, so there's these military convoy. They're on their way to Area 51. They also talk about that they're going to be doing some nuclear testing. Nobody's allowed in, even the colonel. And then it turns out, whoa, these are actually Russians, and they've ambushed the base, and they're heading on in.
I can't believe Russians would do that to us.
I know. I mean,
what did we ever do to them?
I thought we were friends.
All we ever did was give them nice things, like outspend them in the space race just so we could get there first.
Even though they did everything else first with space.
Yeah, or, stole all their technology, made sure that we got the Nazi scientists first before they got to them. Russia is so inconsiderate. So they open the trunk and a hat falls out, and what do you know? It's our good friend.
Indy's dead body.
That'd be so funny if he was just shot up. It's like that scene in Goodfellas. It's just a dead body back there, and the movie just continues.
Like, well,
but yes, it's Indy. He gets out of the trunk, and you know what, Indy. He's like in the time period between when Last Crusade took place and this movie takes place. He really, really, really like worked on his quips because he's really funny in this movie and like such a tough guy. But he like mastered the craft for any time that he was going to be involved in any type of thing where he could quip. He was like, I'll be ready for it. I've been thinking about this the whole drive here.
He was really shown as Harrison Ford.
Yes, he
Right.
feels very Harrison Ford in this movie. He gets out and they're asking him for information, and he tells one of the Russians, drop dead, and then he punches the guy, and then he's like, I'm sorry, I meant drop dead, comrade. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, why is that an insult to him?
Yeah. What if that was like Harrison Ford actually thought of that line on his own, and they were like, I guess we'll put it in.
He's like, get off my plane.
It'll be really great, I swear. And you're like, oh.
Make sure to catch Secret Life of Pets 2 in theaters. We're introduced to our main villain pretty early on in this movie, and it's Cate Blanchett, and she's hot as ever.
Rocking a nice Russian accent.
I wouldn't say nice.
Ugly wig.
Her wig is ugly. Yes, that is a pretty beat wig. And I would say to one common complaint about this movie, yes, her Russian accent is a little lacking.
I'm usually a huge fan of hers too, but this one I was like,
I think she did a good job, honestly. I really do like her character. I think there's a couple times where she's talking where you can hear very clearly her English accent slip in to the Russian accent, which is like, people doing accents do that all the time, but she's trying her best. And really, she honestly is doing a good job in this movie for everything that she's handed.
Yeah. She's like, we will do this old fashioned way.
Yeah. She's like, what is this saying? Such a stereotypical, like, I hate that trope where it's like non-native English speaker says, how do you say? And then like rolls into a common saying.
Like, they don't have a saying like that in your language or country.
They just beat the shit out of him. They don't say old fashioned way. They don't even say it. They just beat you up.
We'll do this the Russian way. All right.
Yeah, that's the Russian way. We'll do this the Russian way, and just starts beating him to a pulp. They've brought Indy to this warehouse because this is the warehouse from the previous films, as I have mentioned.
There's 20 years between the previous film and this film.
In real life?
No, in timeline.
In film life?
I was going to say it's in real life and in timeline. Yeah. That's why they said it the way that they did.
Yeah, it blew me away. Wow. I just realized that. I was like, oh my God, this Crusade was 1938 and this is 1957.
Yeah, so like 19 years. Yeah. And you know what? They did a good job. That is honestly one of the things that you can commend this film for, was not trying to be like pass off late 60s Harrison Ford as, oh, let's just do it again in the 40s or whatever. Yeah. And then no one will know, you know?
And same with Karen Allen.
Yeah. God, I was actually just, you mentioned Karen Allen is in this movie. She doesn't show up for a while, but I was reading that she didn't even know she was in the movie until it was announced they were making it.
Really?
And then Steven Spielberg called her and was like, we're making another one and you're in it. Just like, that's what he told her. It was like, and she was like, okay.
Is this had a script change? Film?
No, this is Paramount.
Paramount, yeah.
All the way through.
So it's on Paramount Plus.
It's Paramount and Lucasfilm, actually, because this is a pairing between George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. Oh God, it's weird that Spielberg did something that's not his company, but I guess because he was attached to it long ago, right?
Yeah, I think it was because it was before Amblin. Okay. So it's one of those things. And what does Amblin make now? Ready Player
West Side
One?
Story.
Yeah. I love it.
You know that I'm 2 degrees away from Steven Spielberg.
No, I know.
I have someone that calls him just Steven.
What's up, Steve?
Steven said this the other day, and I'm like, stop it.
Peyton, on the other hand, has been talking about West Side Story for like 3 years now.
I love
Peyton is losing his shit.
And this new one looks good.
It's so great. And I was like, it just looks like they're going to dance fight the entire time.
That's what it is.
Just go watch the old one.
Just use a gun.
Oh my God.
But I mean, eventually they do, right? I don't.
Yes.
Wrong movie. Okay, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Bad ways.
Yes. So, Indy knows where the box that they're looking for in this warehouse is. He mentions that it's magnetized, and he's like, "Give me your guns," and they're like, "No." And he's like, "No, I need something magnetic so I can find where it is. I need gunpowder." So they start emptying their grenades, their bullets, which is a smart move on Indy's part 2 minutes later into this scene, because now they don't have bullets to shoot him with, really, because he's emptied all of it. So he starts throwing it up into the air. It starts pulling towards this box. And again, I don't know why people acted like they were so shocked that the ending of this movie was Aliens when they literally established right now this is Aliens.
It's about aliens. Aliens in this movie. Alien? You think it's an alien movie? It's an alien movie. Right
like,
here.
Literally
alien.
right off the bat. They open a case that says Roswell, New Mexico, and there is an alien inside of it. I don't know.
I would always make the argument like it's a good movie until the aliens, but then like especially after this last one, I was like, oh, aliens are like in it. They like beat you over the head with alien facts.
Yeah. And I don't think the alien stuff was a surprise to me. I think where it kind of faltered is it's that kind of, what was it, 1970s? No, 1980s. 1980s movies where they didn't do CGI, but they still did all the same things. And so I feel like people just put their gripes in aliens because they're like, what? Aliens are so futuristic to us. And that, like, where it's like, really, the biggest issue with this film is using too much future technology to portray that stuff so it doesn't look real. It's like with like what Star Wars did. Like, even though even though 1 through 3, like Phantom Menace era, used a good amount of practicals, but they still use CGI, and where it faltered was CGI.
And and honestly, I don't think the CGI is too bad in this. There is a few big set piece scenes where you are sitting there being like, yeah, this CGI is not great.
Yeah.
That's because it becomes like the focal point of the scene. But
this was also awful. Tail end of like the tail end of CGI coming into its best areas.
Yeah.
This is definitely that era of like bad CGI mostly, but then there's like some good examples, but like it's like you said, coming of its age, sort of like just, all right, CGI, pull through just a little bit longer and we'll have this nice, perfect
it'll be perfected soon.
Yeah. And so hopefully with this next movie coming out, and when they use CGI, it's like top notch. They don't spare any expense on that one.
But yeah, they open the box and oh my god, it's the crystal mummy, not even the crystal skull. Nothing.
It's an alien.
It's an alien. It's just, but it's not the crystal.
It's the crystal body yaddy yaddy.
Stupid.
Crystal body, not the crystal skull. That's missing, right?
So, one other thing that I failed to mention is that Cate Blanchett has psychic. Cate Blanchett, yeah.
How does Cate Blanchett?
I don't know. Who cares? She's hot. I don't know.
She's hot.
I'll be sure to pronounce it correctly when I meet her. She has psychic powers, but she doesn't.
I think she thinks she has.
She thinks she does. And something that this movie does great with her character is subtly throughout the films reveals to you that not only is she not as smart as she thinks she is insanely out of her depth of what she is trying to accomplish. And I really like that for her. And I think she's aware of it. That's why she puts a mystique behind her, because she tries to read Indy's mind and nothing happens. So in this moment, guns are pointed at Indy, and his friend that's with him, Mac, turns on him. He's like, "Oh, what? You're a double agent?" And he's like, "Well," or he's like, "You're a Russian? You're a socialist?" And he's like, "No, I'm a capitalist, and they pay well." So
we've proven today capitalism does not pay well.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. That's why I'm going to the other side, because they pay well for hard work. So he gets crossed, and then we have this really cool scene. and was a thing by Harrison Ford, that he really kind of wanted to show Indy's age in this movie. And this scene right off the bat kind of sets it out. Is like, he tries to do all the cool shit he did 20 years ago and it doesn't work.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like,
that's like one of the funniest moments.
When he tries to whip on that light and fly across the other truck and he misses it and he flies through the windshield of the truck behind him.
Oh, damn, I thought that was closer.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is fun. The action set pieces are fun. There's this.
But he still gets beat up. Like,
he gets the shit knocked out of him a lot in this movie.
He should have died a few times.
Were indie movies always so heavily vehicle stuff oriented? Okay.
Sometimes.
There is a lot of vehicle stunts in the Indiana Jones movie. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, this almost exact same scene happens in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Now, this movie does kind of suffer from Force Awakens.
You mean fan jobbing?
Yes, and also just like very much just reinventing the wheel for no reason whatsoever. Like, it's just following the same beats, because we're introduced in this moment to a very large Russian who is going to be an adversary throughout the rest of the movie, and he's just that large Nazi from Raiders of the Lost Ark that he fights all the time.
That's when they should have been like, ooh, it's a little twink that you wouldn't suspect. And it's me, and I walk out and I go, it looks like I got some trouble, but I'm German, but I help the Russians.
Just beats the shit out of you. That's it.
Indy comes towards me to beat me up, and I go, ooh, you're looking very handsome, older man. Do you have any friends? And he goes, what's happening? And then I kiss him, and he's like, I think I like men.
I was going to say,
that's a new story.
I was going to say,
fan fiction.
I think in the setting he may call you a slur. I think that's
he probably would.
Yeah,
but then he'll kiss you when no one's looking.
Be like, I'll give you a kiss to make you feel better, and I go, thank you, and then he'd stab me after.
So
like, I hate
get on this like
isn't there one
car?
Isn't there, before we continue? Isn't there one where like there's like a martial artist guy fighting Indy, and he's just like, yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah,
is that the second one?
Well, no, and see, that's a whole thing. Is Indy constantly gets into these fights where he's like, this isn't evenly matched, so I'm gonna have to cheat. Basically, is his
Indy is textbook for brings a gun to a knife fight.
Indiana Jones is just
a jerk. He's a
regular Earth Han Solo. That's all he is.
Much.
It's literally the same character.
Because it is. Don't you know that's fan theory?
That it is him? Yeah, I fucking hate that fan theory. Anyone who believes that, find me in Riverside. I'll beat you up.
Oh, he's doxing himself.
People already know I live out here. I know my address.
Riverside's so huge. It's not like they could. I'm trying to pull your address up.
Yeah, there's his IP address. You could find it that way. No, so Indy, they have this cool swinging fight. That's another thing I like, is a lot of the fights are aerial in Indiana Jones type stuff. They're like swinging on stuff. They're falling through stuff. Him and the large Russian land on this like rocket car that cooks a bunch of guys as it takes off.
That was kind of neat.
That was fun.
And then Indy hides. And all right, guys, we're coming to our first point of contention for most people in this movie. When Indy arrives to the nuclear test town, I love this scene. It is probably my favorite scene in the entire movie.
I love that map in Call of Duty.
Neat. I wish though
it like that map. It's Nuketown in Call of Duty. Yeah.
I just wish that the escape wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get that they really couldn't have done it any other way, because they already showed people driving away from the blast.
And they died. Those people that ran away die. Yeah. I think it's I love the comedy in the scene though, where he's like, you gotta help me. And he's like
what
all of the mannequins, and he's like, huh? And he goes outside and they're all doing like regular shit, but they're all mannequins.
Did they even set up mannequins for the nuclear? They did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Well, that's such a waste of money. But also, it was a nuclear warhead.
They wanted to see the effects
on them.
Yeah,
they were trying to see
the effects. Use dead pigs.
Oh Jesus! That's somehow more cruel than.
Well, no, because dead pigs are like the closest thing to a human body.
It's the 50s. Plastic was everywhere.
Yeah, that is true. They were probably asbestos laced, man.
Yeah, it's the 50s. They were like, I don't know, just eat your radiation.
But yes, Indy hides in the fridge. Everyone knows the fucking in the fridge thing. He gets thrown 300 miles, it seems, from the explosion, and he's
Here's
dead.
a parallel between this one and the second one when he flies out the plane with the blow up raft thing.
You are reading my mind.
They're both kind of equally, maybe one more than the other, but they're almost like the same thing. It's like, this is totally unbelievable.
I was gonna say, again, a lot of people, for some reason, with this movie, like, they draw a line with their sense of believability in this movie, and they always are like, okay, Indy would have died in that refrigerator. And it's like, yes, obviously. He also would have died if he would have jumped out of a plane with a raft to float down thousands of feet to a mountaintop. Like, that's the point of this. It's supposed to be over the top and pulpy and fun. It's not supposed to be rooted in realism.
Yeah. And I think that if they had this possibility back then, they would have done it. And the only reason why it was rooted in somewhat reality, or we think that, is because they didn't have CGI to do these crazy stunts like this.
Yeah, exactly. And then they had to keep it semi-practical and rooted. Yeah. But it's not that crazy. I will say there is a funny, I don't know if either of you have played Fallout New Vegas, but anyone who's familiar with the game, it takes place in Nevada, in Las Vegas, and on a road that you can walk on, you can actually find a refrigerator that's open, and inside of it is a skeleton with a brown fedora.
I think I've seen that Easter egg. I haven't played the game, but
it's really cool. So Indy gets away from the Russians, and he ends up back at a secret base in an incredibly boring scene where he's just debriefed on everything that's happening, and he tells everyone, like, oh yeah, like, that's the woman I saw. And then just because his friend crossed him, they're really like, you could be a double agent too. And that's,
are you a red or something?
Yeah. It's like, better red than dead. That's what I always say. So then we go to University of Town. I don't know where he's teaching. It's a university. They don't bother you with that information.
Is it ever established?
No, they literally never say where it is. They just say, yeah, he's a professor.
Where is it being filmed? It looks like, I don't know, Harvard or something. It was filmed in
Stockton, those scenes at the
Stockton?
School. Yes.
California Stockton?
Yes, California Stockton.
University of Indiana.
Huh. I would have not thought that would be Stockton.
Yeah, it said like the hallway scenes are filmed in Stockton.
Oh, the hallway scenes?
Well, like in the classroom, which is really weird. Huh. The airport scenes in this movie are also filmed in Fresno. So they were all over California for this. So Indy gets fired because the FBI was investigating him. And that's really it. He has a conversation with the dean, which is really interesting because I thought this movie was going to be really heavy-handed on like the anti-communism stuff. But the dean literally says to him, like, what's so great about our government system if, like, we're so scared of Russians that we're firing people because we think they might be them. And it's like a really interesting thing.
I missed that one. That's a really interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool line. And then Indy's like, I'm sad, my dad's dead. Anyway, I'm moving to London. That's like how the scene progresses.
My best friend Brody are dead.
Yeah, they're just like, they're dead. Aww. Anyway, I'm moving to London. See you later. This is when we get a Shia surprise at the train station. LaBouffe, he shows up. That's another point of contention for a lot of people. They hate his character. I don't know why. I think he's very cool.
He's a cool character. I do sort of agree a little bit. It's kind of a stretch.
Like, yeah, I mean,
I think it's kind of a cute little like way to tie in.
Yeah, I totally understand it.
Also, I think a lot of people's gripes with Shia isn't his character anymore.
Well, not anymore.
Now it's just who he is.
He's a good actor, though. He's almost
a great actor.
He's like Tom Cruise. Great actor. I'll watch him in anything. He's a little crazy in real life.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like Shia LaBeouf. I also think, like, you know, he's also like a sad character. His life was awful. So, no, I know. I'm saying that. I'm not excusing that. I'm also saying he's a very sad person who's had a sad life.
Yeah.
And,
I do want to watch Honey Boy. I need to watch that.
Don't. You will cry.
Hey, that's good.
Sobbed watching that movie.
I love Dakota. She's so good. You guys know my obsession with her.
Dakota Fanning?
Oh, she is in that, barely.
Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
She's the third
The other
lead.
Dakota.
I know. She's barely in it. There's not much in that movie.
Oh. It's a 30
okay,
minute
so
film.
back into Indiana Jones.
Right.
They go to a diner and Mutt introduces who he is. He says, blah, blah, blah. A friend of a friend helped raise me because my dad died. A bunch of Crystal Skull art. There is one thing that this movie does that I hate is that they just dump like information about the Crystal Skull that you just don't give a fuck about at all. And then they dump a bunch of ancient alien shit on top of it. And it's just like, I don't care. And then this is a pretty funny situation is that he says, like, how did you find me? And Mutt's like, my mom told me to seek you out. And he's like, who's your mom? She's like, Mary. He's like looking at him like, and he's like, Mary Williams. He's
my God. His name
Mary?
is Mutt because he's a product of two different, very different people.
Yes.
That's
yes.
so stupid. Sorry, I just made that connection.
Listen,
like,
you gotta remember.
He's a mutt.
When we talk about the writing in this movie, you gotta remember that George Lucas helped. So it's not going to be very strong.
No,
like George Lucas is an awful writer. So anything that's like eye rolling when it comes to like story beats, probably because of him.
I didn't catch it my first time. That's why I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's very dumb. But then he says, he's like, Mary, there were a lot of Marys, kid. And it's like, damn, Indiana Jones fucks. Like, he's just like, I don't know. I've fucked a lot of women. You could be your mom. I don't know.
I mean, as someone that's been a slut for many years, I'd be surprised if I even remembered a name that there were a lot of names of.
There's a lot of Marys out there.
There's a lot of Marys.
It's like, how do you know there's a lot of Marys?
I don't discriminate.
What about the Jessicas? What about the Sarahs?
It would probably be a lot of Marys and Sallys since it's like
the 50s,
30s, 40s, 50s. I do really like this. It shows that Mutt is very like ingenious in a moment because the Russians are there at the diner and he causes like a greaser jock fight. Which is a little fun scene. It would have been cool if it was like a race war. I think that would have been cool.
Little grease in there with some West Side Story.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how they escape. So this starts as pretty cool, like car chase on a motorcycle with the Russians. It's again, Indiana Jones-esque car chase. It's what we've seen in all the other three movies. It's a lot of fun.
They go through the library.
And Indy gives some tutoring advice. Which
library?
Library.
Peyton said Barry.
Listen here, y'all.
He works at Knott's Berry Farm, so everything is a berry pun for him.
The Knott's
I do
Berry
love those
Farm.
boys and berries.
Berry
Library
tales. But yeah, he gives some tutoring advice where a guy's like, "What do you think about this guy?" And Indy's basically like, "Fuck that guy, he's a loser." And then it's like, "Go on."
Go outside.
Yeah, and go outside. And then he crashes through the walls. So then they decipher the letter that Mutt has. And again, it's like, wow, there's a whole lot of like blah, 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 blah in this.
This is the letter from the crazy person, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's his name? Dr. something or
Oxley. We haven't met him yet. Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Octopus. So then they're like, we've got to go to Peru. And then we get the classic Indiana Jones map transition of them traveling.
Look at that and go.
Where's the plane flying over my house noise? Because that's what we need right now. Just copy and paste that noise.
And then they land in beautiful, sunny, as we said earlier, Fresno. Apparently this is the airport in Fresno. They just dressed it up to be Peru. And then they step off the plane into Universal's backlot. A lot of this movie was filmed on Universal's backlot, very interestingly enough.
That grave was back there? With all the conquistadors or whatever they were?
That's where they put all the laid off people that work there. They're still wandering there right now. Again,
so that's the zombies?
Yeah, that's that. They're like, that's all the haunt actors.
That's gonna be
the
this
Horror
year.
Nights guys waiting to get rehired.
Furlough Maze.
Please let me in. There's more explanation of the puzzle, talking about this, that, and the other thing. Again, this movie, the writing, not the strongest. It's again,
This is where I was like, who is what and what are we trying to do and why does
exactly.
that there? Like the skull was there, but then the skull was removed, but the skull was brought back.
Literally the middle
Yeah.
20-minute chunk of this movie is like right here that we're talking about is just them explaining more and more and more and more and more about what they're looking for and how they're going to
A
find it.
weird time and place for exposition.
Yeah, they drop a lot of like history. Like here's some like Spanish. Here, this is what's his face, Spanish
Yeah, an El
invader,
Dorado and this and this and this.
Honestly, the
Yeah.
El Dorado focused one would have been better.
Well, I mean, this is
was it.
technically.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
they were
yeah,
looking
but
for
like
El
an
Dorado.
actual El Dorado, not an alien El Dorado.
Well, El
Actual-
Dorado doesn't exist, so
Not
Yeah.
in your mind, but in my mind it does. And two very handsome men found it.
and one very thick woman.
Well, yeah, Road to El Dorado is so good.
I wasn't allowed to watch that movie
Because it was too
growing
gay
up.
and bisexual.
It was too sexy. My mom said it was inappropriate.
Oh my god, it was really sexy though.
I mean,
I've seen pictures of that woman that
there's
say
something for-
yes.
there's something for everyone in that movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
So they finally meet Oxley in his
Mental state.
Or well, no, they go to his prison cell and
Oh,
they
yeah,
see that he's lost his mind, and Mutt's really upset about that because he's the man who helped raise him.
He has a real
and-
like, oh my gosh, this could happen to me moment. I could lose
Yeah.
my mind too.
And then they're like, "Oh, we got to go to the conquistador's grave." So they head to the graveyard, and this actually is a great line. So kudos to whoever wrote it because it wasn't George Lucas. Mutt reads this sign. It says, "Grave robbers will be shot." And then Indy says, "Good thing we're not grave robbers." And he like tosses him a shovel. I just love the whole like. There is a dichotomy of like, are archaeologists who go into these places and take these artifacts, aren't they grave robbers? And he obviously clearly doesn't see himself as that, which is very funny. I thought there was more grave people that attacked other than just one guy.
I thought it was 2 or 3.
I thought it was 2, but I swear to God, it was this one guy who attacks.
Yeah.
I
thought it was like one guy that attacked at the start and then other people came out.
Yeah.
I think
'Cause there's
that's the
the dark
problem with
guy.
them all wearing those masks.
I think there's at least 2 because there's a guy like they knock out with a shovel, and then there's the dart guy where Indy blows the dart back up into his throat.
Okay, that is brutal.
Yeah.
That is like,
But also,
He
what
killed
would
the guy.
happen? Like the blunt end of the dart goes in your mouth, and you're like,
Yeah.
ow.
And then you swallow poison, and then you die.
I just was like, when Indy did that, I was like, damn, Indy, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
That's like, you have a gun, just shoot him. Like,
But
just
we also know
protecting
that India's throat game now.
ooh,
Oh.
he can inflate your penis.
Like a balloon
another-
animal.
Like he ties it up. Another good line again. Mutt and Indy have great banter between the two of them. And I think honestly, one of the reasons why the banter is so good is because Shia LaBeouf and Harrison Ford, I do think, have a lot of chemistry in this movie.
Oh yeah.
But he says, "You're a teacher?" And Indy's like standing there all cool, like one of the poster shots. And he's like, "Part-time." Oh yeah.
Indy.
Yeah, Indy. The other part-time he spends fucking your mom.
He spent fucking his mom. Past tense.
So
All
then
the Marys of the world.
all the Marys. He's like, I've got a lot more Marys on this list. So they find a secret tunnel. They go into this tomb where the natives of this area bound their children's heads to be shaped like the crystal skulls.
The aliens.
It was horrifying.
Yeah.
The thought
But
of that.
that's a real thing. They did
I
that.
know.
And they do it with their necks over in I think Africa or somewhere.
Yeah, they look like the skulls look like the skulls of those like peanut people from the Proud Family movie.
Oh yeah, it's like not skull binding.
That's what it's called.
Elongating binding. Yeah.
Skull binding, yeah. When you tie it and then it grows all weird. So
It
like
does remind me of Coneheads a little
But see,
bit.
this is where I will say the original crystal skull is not shaped like this. It's shaped like an actual skull.
Well, you
And
know
there
that
is
Reed-
mythology behind that.
in
you
real
know
life.
it's fake, right? Like it's like
Are you talking about the fake
There's been,
crystal
like,
skull or the real
the
crystal
7
skull?
crystal skulls.
the real crystal skull that Jared is speaking of is a quartz skull that they're like, there's no way it could have been carved with like ancient tools. And it's like, yeah, because it wasn't, because it's a fabrication.
I don't
Sorry
know.
to spoil that for anyone.
They 3D printed it.
Listen, you can find Crystal Skull vodka in any liquor store around America, and you can contribute money to Dan Aykroyd if you want. Yeah, so they go in there, they find the mummified conquistadors, and the guy looks good, and then they open it, and he like crumbles. I was like, what the fuck? They just ruined that skeleton. Like, that's awful.
And what did Mutt say? He's like,
what happened to him? And Indy's like, he's been mummified for 500 years. Air doesn't agree with him, is what he says. It's like, all right, Indy, listen, we can't always be swinging for the fences.
Not everyone's going to land.
Yeah, not everyone's going to land. But you know what? Keep shooting for the moon. You'll land among the stars, I guess. They find the main conquistador that they've been talking about this whole time. And lo and behold, he has the crystal skull.
What? No way.
I know, it's kind of like I don't know, it's like a reveal that goes off with like a whimper and a sigh. It's like, all right.
Oh,
it's like, cool.
They say, oh yeah, Oxley found the crystal skull, and then he took it out, and then he put it back. It's like, okay, so it's going to be here. We all know that. Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, well, how else who would come back and get it? But then the Russians arrive, and they take Indian Mutt to the Russian camp. Indy is tied up. This is when he's talking to Mac. And again, Mac is just talking all his shit about like, oh yeah, I'm, they pay well, blah, blah, blah. I had a gambling debt that I need to take care of, and that's why I'm here, yada, yada, yada. So Cate Blanchett comes in, and she unveils for Indy. Not only does she unveil the crystal skull in this moment, but she also unveils the alien's body. And Indy speaks as a surrogate for the audience in this moment, where he's like, saucer men from Mars is what he says about the alien's body, which is like, Indy, you've seen people's faces get melted off. You've seen a heart get ripped out of a man's chest. You've seen a Templar waiting 800 years. You're really going to scoff at an alien? Like, shut up, dude. This is not the weirdest shit you've ever seen. This is pretty baseline for anyone. So yeah, they bring Oxley in, and he's a shell of a man, to say
crazy.
the least.
He's had one too many bumps of cocaine or something.
But I do have to say, do you know whose back probably hurts from carrying this movie and just playing a character too well? Oxley. Because
William Hurt.
Yes, William Hurt. Yes, yeah. He's crushing it. His crazy character is so good, and he's in a lot of this movie too. He's just doing a great job. I really like his character, so kudos to him. So they use the skull on Indy to kind of tap into his mind. He sees a bunch of stuff we don't really know, but then he's like, okay, I have to return the skull. And then Cate Blanchett kind of lays out their evil plan for why they want the skulls, and it's because they could create a super weapon, and they could use it to basically brainwash people from afar and let them know of things. And I was cracking up because it's like her master plan is that you could feed information to anyone around the world, and you could teach them real history, like what the Americans have really done to Russia, is what she says in the moment. I was like, that's your evil plan? To educate people?
She was also saying, like, Manchurian Candidate a bunch of people as well.
Yes. But I was like, I mean, true to the communism thing, they're just trying to bring everyone class consciousness, I guess. That they're like, you should know that your labor is being abused by your employer. It's like, all right, Kate, I'm going to give you these skulls because you might be onto something here.
You know what? Take it. It's fine.
You know what? You are right. Oxley, he's doing this thing with his hands, and Indy realizes that he's trying to write something.
I would have never gotten that.
Well, okay, but I'm sitting there being like, how long have the Russians had Oxley that they haven't gotten that?
Right.
And this goes to show again that Cate Blanchett is so out of her depth, because when Indy's like, bring me a piece of paper and something to write with, she's like, he's trying to write. I never would have got that. It's like, what? What? You've had him for this long and you haven't thought he might be trying to write this entire time? So it just goes to show that she's really not as smart as she lays out to be. They go to a map to try and figure out where they're going to go from this deciphered message. Mutt punches a Russian and they escape.
Yeah. And then
they don't escape. Yeah, they get stuck in quicksand. But it's actually not quicksand. He said it's something. It's like dry sand.
Dry sand.
It's like more dangerous than quicksand. And
is
then
any
as they're
sand
dying,
not dry besides wet sand?
I mean, is it
aerated sand? Because that would make more sense.
Agitated sand?
Is agitated sand aerated sand?
Aerated sand. That's what I thought. Yes. Yeah, it is aerated sand, because he explains, because it is kind of funny, is like, Mutt's like, oh my God, is this quicksand? And Indy's like, well, actually, it's aerated sand. It's actually a lot deadlier. So basically what it is. And he starts explaining like what it is and how it works. And it's like,
it's only me in a moment of panic. Like, actually, what we're doing is, and people are like, shut up, we gotta go.
We're dying here.
It's like, oh my God, he's going to beat us to death. Well, actually, he has a gun, so he's probably going to shoot us. So as they think they're dying and Mutt and Oxley run away to go get help or to get something to get them out, this is when Marion lays out like, hey, Mutt is your son, Indy. And
why did you keep him in school?
Yeah, he's literally like, you don't need to be so hard on that kid about school. And then she's like, Mutt's your son. And he's like, you should have made him finish school.
But is that the time?
I know, it's funny. They think
is
they're
that the
die.
place?
Not the time or the place, but
so they managed to get Marion out with a stick, but for some reason they're going to give Indy a snake.
It was like a vine or something. I looked closely too. I was like, that's a vine. That's clearly.
Do they not realize? I guess that's the joke. He grabbed a vine to get Marion out, but then he didn't realize he grabbed a snake, because a snake is like a vine.
Well, what happened to the vine? Did they just chuck it? Like, yeah, we don't need this anymore.
If they treated it anything like they treat this snake, they just chucked it back into the jungle behind them. But this snake would have been ripped in half. There's no way. Indy would have just it would have severed, blood would have gone everywhere, and he would have drowned to death in the sand.
Totally.
But no, Carly pointed out when we were watching it, she's like, they just chucked that snake behind them when they were done with it. They're like, all right, goodbye, and they just like throw it over their
paralyzed snake. Good luck living.
So Oxley's idea of getting help was getting the Russians back. Now they are
recaptured.
Recaptured, handcuffed in the back of a vehicle, where Indy and Marion are fighting back and forth about where he was, blah, blah, blah. This is when Mutt finds out that Indy is his dad. And it just they lay out like, where have you been? And that's the 5th film, Indiana Jones and the Mystery of the Deadbeat Father. It's going to cover the 20 years in between where he didn't raise Mutt and what was going on in that life.
I kind of was like, well, what was he doing for 20 years? Like, there's
fucking a lot of Marys, obviously.
Yeah. He was like, give me a phone book.
Between Waller Bridges is playing Mary in the next film.
That's all Mary 1, 2, 4, and 8. Actually,
yeah. In the 20 years, did he never go on another like expedition of like life-changing magnitude? He never like saw God or found Excalibur or anything.
I think it's lightly hinted at that him getting captured by the Russians was done on American soil, and I think it's lightly hinted that he's just been teaching this whole time. He went on some adventures and then he semi-retired. Yeah, I think he semi-retired and became a teacher, and then
he's like, I'm too old for this.
Basically, right. It's like
one more.
It's like, when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. That's him in this movie. So yes, again, you guys, I'm just going to say it. Welcome to, this is the part of the movie where the next 20 minutes is a lot of people's contentious points. I don't think it's
this is bad. Where it's just like I get action sequences and they're fun, but when it's for like 20 minutes straight, it's like, I just kind of want something else to happen.
Hey, that King Kong versus Godzilla scene at the very end of the movie was amazing.
Where's the Kong
like
dong?
30 minutes.
Release the dong cut.
Yeah.
Where they both have wieners. No, I'm gonna say honestly, most of the scene is fine. I told you there's two things I can't excuse in this movie, and we're about to come up to one of them, and I'll tell you right off the bat. It is the monkey scene. I can't excuse the swinging on the vines monkey scene.
It's so out of the blue and like random, and you're like, this would never happen. They just scamper away.
However, the only slight defense I can make for it again is think about what Indiana Jones is supposed to be. It's supposed to be pulpy. It's supposed to be like
Tarzan?
Well, no, it's supposed to be like old adventure comics from the 40s and 50s that depicted these like feats of daring that happened in like grave robbers and all this kind of stuff.
Like
so
Romancing the Stone.
Like Romancing the Stone, yes. So this is supposed, you think about it in that way, it's like, okay, it makes a little more sense, these weird fantastical moments, because it's rooted in that realism.
Right.
But we find out
it's still a little like
yeah, I know. It's still kind of dumb. I agree with you. It's a little like, really?
There's a book that Indiana Jones is based off of. It's like somebody in the Temple of Solomon or something like that.
Dr. Frankenstein in the Temple of Solomon.
Oh.
Yeah. And I have to tell you another interesting fact that's stupid. It's just related to my life. In 6th grade, we had to do this project where it was called the Living Wax Museum. And you had to portray a scientist of some sort. Because I went to
Indiana
science
Jones?
magazine. No, actually, I chose the guy who he is entirely based off of, a real life person. His name's Roy Chapman Andrews, who was a early 1900s to like 1930s archaeologist and paleontologist. And like, if you find pictures of him, there he is with a whip and a revolver in the Middle East, like doing all kinds of archaeology stuff. And initially, my teacher told me he wasn't a real scientist, so I couldn't do him. But then my mom yelled at her, and I got to do it. And I'm just going to say, a kid in my class did George Washington Carver, and he did blackface. So I don't think I'm the worst in this situation.
Yikes.
Well, that's also just shutting down sciences that are outside of like a classroom.
Okay, but you're also going to tell me the guy who made peanut butter is more of a scientist than a guy who was a paleontologist?
I'm like, no, that's still a science. That teacher's just stupid.
The book is called King Solomon's Mine.
There we go.
But King Solomon was mine first.
You said that Dr. Frankenstein thing so confidently that I believed you. I really was like, oh yeah, Dr. Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's like, well, I made a human. What else can I do?
Yeah, I really believed you for a second there. Damn.
Sorry. Scavenge some.
You need to be trained on those bikes.
Fuck, that was awful. I'm sorry. So we find out that Jonesy unveils to Indiana Jones, hey, that's Mac, by the way. He's like, I'm a double agent for the U.S. for CIA. It's like, Indy, dog, come on, you're not gonna believe him.
How
really?
Are you?
Like, how dumb are you? And he's like, I was trying to tell you in the camp, but you weren't listening. And he's like, oh, I can trust this guy. We get this whole scene. I do like it. I think it's fun. Mutt fighting with the sword between the two cars.
Oh, yeah. That's so
cool. And he's just like getting smacked in the balls by like all those plants as he's trying to fight. Then he gets yanked up into the trees. Yeah, monkey scene, whatever.
He kicks the driver. They go flying off or whatever.
Yep. And then they end up at the most horrifying scene of this movie, which is when they land on the anthill.
Tell you what, I don't care much for ants. I mean, ants are ants. But man, if I ever ran into these ants, they'd be my snakes for Indy, the rats for his dad. I'd be like, nope, not doing it. Get me out of here.
I hate rats.
I'm so scared of snakes. I don't know if I've ever told you guys that before. I'm like,
really?
Like very viscerally.
All you have to do is run.
Yeah.
I don't know. Snakes, they really freak me out. I just went to the San Diego Zoo a few days ago, and we went into the reptile room, and Carly didn't come in there with us. And she told my mom, she was like, oh yeah, I don't need to go in there. All Tyler's going to do is look at the snakes and go, and I was doing that the entire time I was in there. They like actually give me the chills, make my hair stand on end.
Every exhibit, you're like, next one.
I know. There was a few where I was like, I don't know. It just freaks me out. Snakes scare me so much.
Spiders too. Spiders would be my.
Spiders are the worst.
Oh, dude, I used to have a tarantula.
You're the
spiders
worst.
don't bother me at all.
Tarantulas, I know, are like peaceful. But like, it's
Not
the other
really.
ones.
I don't want to look at them.
It's the other
Tarantulas are
ones.
cool though. They're pretty low key. You can like go 3 weeks without feeding them and like stuff like that, and they're cool pets. But you know what aren't cool pets? Giant ants. Again, talking about the whole like Force Awakens thing. This is just the big Nazi fight from
Force Awakens.
No, the big Nazi fight happens after the second movie came out, and all those men's rights activists came out and said they didn't like the second.
Gosh.
No, from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's just him fighting the big Nazi
again for the second time in the movie.
But the ants, for some reason, go around the Crystal Skull, and they give him a cool little like fighting space. He beats up the big Russian. He falls, and he gets hereditaried. So all the ants like crawl in his mouth and like pull him into the hole. And then I hear a lot of gripes about like the fridge nuke thing, right? Being the most unbelievable, like they'd all be dead. But the Indiana Jones gang die 3 or 4 times in this next sequence of the movie.
Oh yeah, totally. The 3 waterfalls.
Yes, they drive off a cliff into a tree that somehow can carry them down to the water safely, and then it smacks a bunch of Russians,
who should be dead as well.
Yes, and then they drive down not 1, not 2, but 3 enormous waterfalls, and they're dead.
Each one the size that could kill anyone.
They're like 200 feet each one.
Yeah,
they're dead.
Well, until you've experienced it, you can't say anything. So
shut the fuck up.
Please keep your opinions to yourself about waterfalls. It seems rude.
Actually, I think
that's why it does not condone any waterfall jumping or anything like that. Please be safe.
If you've watched the scientific documentary The Emperor's New Groove, you can survive a large waterfall drop. So jot that down.
Aren't there like sharp rocks at the bottom and everything?
Not always.
Are you just quoting Emperor's New Groove now?
Yep.
Sharp rocks at the bottom. Yep.
Bring it on. I love that movie so much.
I gotta watch that movie now.
It's so good.
So we find the Temple of the Crystal Skull. More Ancient Aliens bullshit is dumped on us. There's a Scooby-Doo painting man. They show a wall where eyes are looking through like a painting on the wall. And a bunch of people come out of the walls.
My question is, were they always there for like these decades that no one's been here? Or did they like have secret rooms?
Gotta pay attention.
They're just waiting the whole time just in case someone
any day now, someone's gonna walk through that waterfall and we're gonna scare them.
I'm going to tell you right now, these are the most useless semi-antagonists of this film because they're in it for 3 minutes and they don't do anything. It just shows that they praise the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, they just throw like those ball and string attached to them things. Bolos and arrows, some spears, and like, yeah, look.
Yeah,
we're stereotypical.
Yeah, and then they're
lions.
like, okay, yeah, you have the skull. Never mind. This. All right, everyone, bury yourselves back in those rocks in the temple. We got to wait again. So they climb to the top of this pyramid. Mac makes a comment. He's like, some city of gold is essentially what he says. He's like, oh, El Dorado, city of gold. Where? It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. Like
there was no gold.
Yeah, the gold was the friendship we made along the way, you bitch.
It's the knowledge we've learned.
Yeah, I mean, oh fuck, way to spoil the final line of this movie. That is pretty groan worthy, I do have to say. They do like a Legend of Zelda sand puzzle to drop down into this temple.
Oh yeah.
You gotta hit the button before and jump down on every peg so you don't fall.
They go inside and they see that there's like antiquities everywhere inside of it, and Indy makes an interesting line here. I really like it, where he's like, oh, they're archaeologists too. It's like, you see there's like there's one of the terracotta army figures in there.
There's the Egyptian headdress and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's Indian stuff in there. So it's really setting up for you, like, no, that like whatever was here was going around the world looking at everything that humans were doing. And it's supposed to, again, ancient aliens shit, like they helped every civilization. I
will say, so with all the information that's come out recently with all the UFOs and stuff, I will say there's a little bit more viability. It's more credibility to like actually having outside beings help civilizations out. I could see it happening.
Listen, I have a guy who used to work at Great America who would very angrily tell you otherwise.
I'm not saying that it did happen. I'm just saying that if it did happen, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like,
well,
that makes
you guys
sense.
heard it here first. Peyton is a ancient aliens theorist.
Aliens, man.
Aliens. That show was always on in the break room at work. We had one coworker who was always fucking watching it. So sick of it.
I won't say like all their theories are right, or I am on board with them. I do think that maybe, they did land and like, hey, we can help you out a little bit.
Do you think they just like wiggled their wieners and stuff like that or something, and that was it?
Well, if you've seen
like they walked up to the people and took their wieners and wiggled them.
Yeah, and they were like, so they go into the skull throne, and then remember I said only 2 things I can't excuse? Here it comes. Mac crosses them again, and Indy says, "What are you, a triple agent?" No, Indy, you fucking idiot. He's a double agent, and you've been fooled twice now. That's not like, why would you believe him the first time after he crossed you? Like, there's no such thing as a triple agent. There's just morons who get crossed twice. Like,
dang, college education for what?
I know. Where's George W. Bush when you need him? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Well, you ain't gonna fool me again.
Can't fool me twice. It's like, so all these aliens and all the other skulls that they talked about are sitting in this cool room. Indy,
it's like a cabal of aliens.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: if the skull was originally there, how come this stuff didn't happen until the skull was put back?
Because I don't know if the skull was there.
Why would the skull be gone?
Because, so hear me out. Now I'm going to have to go into ancient aliens bullshit, unfortunately. So,
gross.
In the lore, the skulls and the bodies, the aliens explored everywhere on Earth.
And they left their heads elsewhere.
Well, they died. And the bones were there. So the theory is if they were taken back to the place that they started at and everything was assembled and all that kind of stuff, they would come back to life and they could leave. Or
what if they like forgot a hand?
Wait, how did they?
We left his dick
Indiana
in China.
Jones in the Legend of the Crystal Hand, the Legend of the Crystal Hip Bones,
Legend of the Crystal Singular Right Testicle. That's all that's preventing it from.
No, Indiana Jones
Legend of the Fourth Vertebrae,
and the Crystal Dildo.
That's not part of their body.
That's their pee-pee.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not bone. Only bone would be left.
No, they have bone wieners. They have bone wieners.
Where do you think we got the word boner from?
Oh my god, that's a new ancient alien theory right there. That Peyton's
heard it here first.
Bring that aliens guy on; he'll tell us.
Wait, okay. So real quick. How did they die, then come back to life, or did he like get decapitated? Did the Spanish like decapitate this alien, and then they died, and then they took the head?
Died. No,
or just a died Spanish people found the skeletons, took the head out, and then like
yes,
okay. Because I'm like,
yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying is if it was already there, but then they found him, but then they took the skull out. How come putting the skull back makes all of this happen?
Maybe it's also like a destiny thing. Maybe they were waiting for the right person to do it or something like that. I don't know.
Because they kind of were. The Indy is like the chosen one.
Yeah,
says
exactly.
The skull,
so it could be that.
Did Indy put the skull back, or did
no? But Indy is like, I have to bring it back.
Okay.
It put itself back technically because it like flies out of her hands.
It magnetized to the.
But then, so Oxley is kind of like he's speaking in Mayan, and
Maya.
Indy translates it, and he's like, "Oh, they have a gift for us." And then that's when Cate Blanchett busts in, is like, "I want to know everything." That's the gift they're offering. They're offering anything essentially, and she's the first person who speaks.
That seems like a lot,
right? And that's why she, spoiler alert, 2 minutes from now, that's why she dies.
Sure, head blows
because
up.
She's given the knowledge of the universe is what she's given in this moment. because one, they're not standing in a temple; they're standing in a UFO, and two, these are
made
not
of stone.
Well, no. It's surrounded in stone.
yeah,
It
I
all
know.
falls off. It was like a shrine built around them.
But the inside was
It's
also
like
stone.
high tech because you can see it start falling apart.
High tech stone.
High tech stone. Metal.
That really is high tech stone.
So it starts taking off, and then Oxley's sane again now, and he mentions Indy's like, oh my god, these are really like aliens from outer space, and he's like, no, not outer space, like interdimensional beings. These are not of this universe.
I think I'd rather them just be aliens.
I like that. Okay, again,
I like it, but at the same time, I'm like,
unfortunately,
it's adding an unnecessary layer.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
because we're like aliens throughout this whole movie. Okay, outer space beings, aliens, 1950s, all that. No, interdimensional beings.
And then
let me just tell you right now, in current day, right now, the thought of what could be extraterrestrial life is leaning more towards interdimensional beings than something from a different planet. So that is kind of in the common zeitgeist about aliens and extraterrestrials, is that it's actually interdimensional beings, not from another planet. That's kind of how it's been for a bit now. And at this time, when the ancient alien stuff was happening, most people were not like, oh yeah, they're from another planet and they came to visit. They're like, no, they're from another galaxy,
plane of existence.
And if you want to get even further into the setting of this movie and why the aliens are so important, if you look at, we're really getting into like alien corner here. If you look at the spike in UFO sightings in the world,
it's all USA.
Well, no, it's not just USA. Well, it is USA, but it's all over the world. But the peak happens after 1945. What did we do in 1945? We dropped a nuke. Yeah. And then the theory is that the reason that there's far more UFO activity now post 1945 than there was prior is because extraterrestrial beings, interdimensional beings, took a vested interest in Earth, specifically in our galaxy, in our universe, because we reached a milestone in our human evolution.
All right,
that's really good. No, that's actually pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, right. And that plays into this again. They show a nuke. They show all of this stuff. It's like that's why they're interested.
Yeah. Now. It's like Star Trek. You know, the Vulcans didn't come down until we had warp capability. So
exactly. See,
like, hey, did you check out Earth? They're about to go blow some crap up.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you guys should check in on Earth. Shit's about to get fucked up there.
They're about to blow themselves up.
So Kate Blanchett, she learns too much and she's like, I don't want to know anymore. It's like, and like she knows truly what happened to Jeffrey Epstein, and her head explodes and she melts.
It's like when Jesus went into the garden of not Eden. Don't say Eden.
Dang it.
The Garden of Gomorrah?
Gomorrah, yes.
And he saw all the sins of the world.
Which means that he saw someone blow rope to Waluigi
That is my
hentai.
Favorite tweet. I love that tweet. Exactly what I was thinking of.
So yeah.
So he went into Gomorrah's garden? So Zoe Salmananda?
God. So Oxley is sane again. They get to leave again. Mac is a greedy bitch and dies for that, but he also kind of, I don't know, he's supposed to be vilified because he's like, Indy, don't save me, I'm a piece of shit, essentially is what he says.
Gethsemane, like, that's what it was.
He's like, yeah, you're right. Just leaves him to die.
I'll see you later.
We get to the top, and again, Indy fucks. He's just a horny good guy now. And yeah, he's like, what does he say? He's like, where are you going? He's like, I guess I could ask you the same question. It's like, fuck. We get a wedding for Marion and Indy. The door blows open, a hat rolls across, and I think this scene's funny to me because it plays on exactly what everyone thought they were going to do, which was going forward, Shia LaBeouf was going to be Indiana Jones. The hat lands on the ground and he goes to pick it up. And he's like, fuck you, that's my hat, don't put it on.
I'm not yet.
I'm gonna fuck your mom with this hat on.
A shark puts it on and goes, "Hi, I'm Indy. Howdy, howdy, howdy." Yes, I got the best laugh.
Well, now the episode's good because now it's funny.
Listen to this episode. It's the best at the end.
Yes, I always try to make sure we all laugh at the end because then we can wrap it up and the work is done. But yeah, that's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That brings us to the Jaws scale.
Jaws.
I'll kick it off.
Peyton, let's start.
Peyton will
Jared,
kick
yeah,
it
let's
off.
start. Yeah, no, Jared, you said it. Jared, put the hat on. You're indie. Go.
I want to say it's between a 1 and a 2 because I think the only bad part is the fan jobbing because I know that they knew they couldn't change enough to make it unique.
Fuck, you just brought up the fan jobbing thing. Peyton mentioned, I said again, if you believe that Han Solo and Indiana Jones are the same person, you can fight me. However, in the scene when the UFO is getting ready to take off and the temple is crumbling around them, Indy says, I have a bad feeling about this. And then it's like, bad feeling about this.
Yeah. And then the Falcon lands and takes him away.
And of course, IMDb is like, a fun little callback to, and it's like, oh, shut up.
It's like, we knew. Chewbacca comes in fully nude, actually.
Fully shaven.
He's actually Oxley.
Yeah. You know what? I'll just give it a Jaws because it deserves it.
Yeah. Peyton?
Participation trophy.
I'm gonna go with the Jaws 2. It's good.
Shit.
It's not Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark good, but it's still enjoyable.
Wow.
I was teetering on a 3, but I'm like, it's better than a 3.
Do you know what I'm gonna do? Do you know what I'm gonna do for you? Between now and when we record the next episode, you need to watch Temple of Doom, and I want you to come back with a new rating.
Well, I know that I've seen Temple of Doom, and I don't think it's like.
No, I'm saying go back. Temple of Doom is fucking awful. I will fight anyone on that. Temple of Doom is really bad.
While I do think it's the weakest of the Indies trilogy.
This one
originally,
I see. Yeah, the trilogy.
This one is like just above that, but I never had a problem with Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom also has the worst Lego Indiana Jones levels, so
I never played those. So.
Take that into consideration.
I forgot we were bringing Legos into this.
I'm gonna give it a Jaws. I wish I could give it a doesn't even belong on the scale rating, but I think this movie gets a bad rap. And again, I think it gets a bad rap literally the same reason that Star Wars Episode 7 and 8. Is that what it is?
Force Awakens and Last Jedi?
Last Jedi. And more specifically, Last Jedi. I think this movie gets a bad rap for the same reasons that Last Jedi did, is that they decided to be familiar but change some stuff and be not just the same movie again that you've already seen 3 times. And that always rubs these fucking children nerds wrong. And then they get pissed off that it's like, well, it's not my indie. So
that's
he never was your Indy.
Hey, I got news for you, bud. Indiana Jones isn't real.
Right?
What? Did you ever watch the Young Indiana Jones series?
Oh, with River Phoenix?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He's young Indiana Jones. Joaquin Phoenix's brother. Yeah.
Okay.
I've watched a little bit of it.
I've seen a few. They're not the same.
No, it's weird. I also have several of the video games. The old point and click. Indiana Jones games. Wow. Yeah, and they're really cool. And he goes to Atlantis in one of them. That's fucking dope.
Have you read any of the books?
No, I don't know how to read.
I didn't know there was so much media.
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot
of books.
It's like Star Wars. There's just producing a lot of it based off of everything.
Yeah, there's one where the book I read was he found dinosaurs in Hollow Earth.
Oh my God, the Hollow Earth. The Hollow Earth theory exists?
Yeah, which was actually a pretty good book. I actually really enjoyed it.
Do you know what that means? That means Indiana Jones and King Kong
and Godzilla
exist in the same universe. Yes. Oh no! Release the dong cut.
Oh my God! Indiana Jones fucked Mothra.
That's
Martha. Mariartha.
Marithra. What is the name?
Marithra. Oh, that's
one of the
gross.
Marys.
I was trying to remember what the name was this entire time. I was like, Mar.
Oh man.
All right,
Give me 1
bye.
second. Hold on. I got to say what the next episode is, but I didn't have it pulled up. I forgot what it is. So give me 1 second. So that about does it for us here at Bombs Way. Hope you enjoyed us finally talking about Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I know I had fun. I think you guys did.
I did too. It was a blast.
I mean,
and I do recommend people go back and watch this movie. It's not as bad as you either remember or have heard.
This is different than like last episode where we were like, don't go back and watch them because they're far worse than you remember.
Go back, watch it. It is actually it's a pretty good Indiana Jones movie. There's some suspension of disbelief. You may need to take a little bit more than your previous Indiana Jones movies, but it's still an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, and so join us on our next episode where we're going to take a step back into our roots, kind of. I will say right now, we are doing, I know this is technically speaking our first regular episode outside of the Get to Know Us episodes and then the Bargain Bonanza. So I just want to say we are doing a blend of what we used to do, which is older bad movies and then newer stuff. So starting us back again, kind of a throwback to our older content. Join us next episode for 1983's Death Stalker, which is
in the world of tomorrow.
Death Stalker has a great story because it is far raunchier of a film than we anticipated, and we watched it at work once.
I'm pretty sure that I have seen the Mystery Science Theater
of Death Stalker.
Death Stalker.
It is wild. So yeah, 1983's Death Stalker. Again, it's an 80s bad movie, so we're going back to our roots. That'll be in 2 weeks. That'll be on the 24th of May. But yeah, thank you so
Death
much.
Stalker's so bad. And the Warriors
so fun.
Oh, it's Death Stalker, or is that the sequel?
The sequel is Death Stalker 2.
And the Warriors from Hell?
Yes, and it has a great intro ending, or great intro into the movie where the bad guy says, "I'll get you," and Death Stalker 2, and then it's like shows the title. So that's what we have to look forward to.
They're bad movies, but they're if you
gonna be fun.
If you want to have a fun way to get ready for it, watch the Mystery Science Theater on YouTube because it's all on there.
So yeah, that does it for us. Follow us on all of the shits that we're on: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Bombs Away Show. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We just upload the episodes there. We're getting to a point where we are going to start doing YouTube content, and then we'll be there. And then once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we can start making money on YouTube, which would be nice.
Money's not our main goal.
No,
we're
but
only
it is
994 away from that. So thanks for helping us get to our goal.
We're like 300, which isn't bad.
We've been at 300 for a few months.
Yeah, we've been at it for a long time.
It'd be nice to start doing like videos and stuff like that.
We were at 666, which I thought would have been a cool way to just leave it, but then it didn't, then people subscribed. Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and see you on the next one with Death Stalker. Bye.
Bye.